What's up, guys? Pittsburgh White Shorts back again with yet another Rush rundown. This time we're going to go over Nisekoi in the English competitive metagame. This will be a quick, concise overview of Nisekoi's strengths, weaknesses, and notable cards that you need to know in order to effectively play into it, all in 10 minutes or less. While these aren't meant to be totally comprehensive, we've included a lot of information in this video on the slides, so if I'm moving too quickly, feel free to pause and read up on all that information we've posted. Alright, let's get right into it. While not as powerful as its JP counterpart by any stretch of the imagination, this set still has its big memory engine with the key events, the promise pendant, and some usable plussing combos. The top ends mostly consist of like early play healers that like compress, they remove cards from your deck to sort of drag the game out and sort of win by attrition almost. There's also the Sweets deck, which is completely its own thing, but it does a similar strategy where it plays these early play healers that try to drag the game out. Most builds are going to rely on an on-reverse plussing combo at level 1, the classic America combo, it's an on-reverse salvage. In Key or Sweets, the Sweets combo also plusses on-reverse. The other one, the Sweets one, does run a clock kicker at the top. Most of their finishing cards don't do much of anything and don't require reverses to work. They're like on-play burns. So not too much to worry about at the top there. Getting right into the cards, we got the Chato Jay Bomb Runner. I have it on here because it is a notable profile. This profile doesn't really exist. It only runs to the center, similar to Armin, but this is a profile that doesn't really exist anywhere in English, or not one that's played. If you're running into Nisekoi, they're definitely playing this card, so just something to keep in mind. It is good and bad in all of the ways that both of its mixed profiles have, so just something to remember. Moving on, we got the Onodera Kosaki Free Fresh. This is exactly the same profile as the one in Fate. It's 5 or less, and then draw a card. And it also has Act, rest 2 key characters, give one of your characters 2k. So just a little power buff. Doesn't note that it does not have to be this card. You can rest any 2 key characters. And one thing that is really important is that the Sweets deck, because this is Sweets trait, can run this card and does have access to on-play Azusa. So just like Fate, this deck can have really nasty deck states if you're playing into the Sweets version. So maybe hold decompression tools if you're playing into that, or they have a lot of stock and they're approaching one of those unkillable deck states. But otherwise, the normal key deck really can't leverage this card in a meaningful way. It's a lot more powerful in Sweets. Moving on, so we got this back row chitoge. This is a spammable power brainstormer for 2k power for every single climax you hit. Not a big deal, mostly more relevant as a mill tool for the key deck, because unlike Sweets, it does not have the Azusa effect. The more important part is this first effect. So when one of their characters gets reversed, they can give Spot 1000 power as many times on their turn as they need to, whether it's their turn or your turn. They're going to have this rolling power buff going that you need to keep in mind when you're going for reverses. So just keep that in your head as you're going through all your battle math and making sure that all of your stuff's going to go off the way you want to make sure you can get those reverses. Because since this is a level 0, it can be out whenever they get it. Because they usually run it as a tech card, 1 or 2 of, but when they need it, they'll put it down on the board. There's also America at the top that has a similar effect, so just make sure you check that out when you're going into your attacks. Moving on, so this is the level 1 combo for Sweets. This has an anti-event on it, which means you just can't play events. So you can't play backups on your opponent's turn if they attack with this first with the climax combo, and you can't play them on your turn, so you can't mill with warehouses and stuff. This is really, really powerful, like especially against decks like AOT that like really crutch on gear. They just can't use them. This is an effect that just doesn't show up like pretty much anywhere. Anti-event is super, super rare. If you run into Sweets, they're running this combo because it's their only plussing combo, and this thing gets super, super big for a level 1 combo. And it's off a bar, so they're always going to have it. So really important to remember if you're playing into Sweets that you're just not going to be able to play events. Alright, so counters. The big one to remember is the 1-1 Promise Pendant counter. It's a 1-1 3k backup. It's going to go into their memory. It also turns on all their other effects. This is the most common pendant that gets run because a 1-1 3k backup is pretty good. Otherwise, they do have the Chato Jay anti-change. It's also a sack counter. There's also another even cheekier anti-change, which is this 1-0 America, which is pay 3 anti-change at level 1, but it only goes to waiting room. The other one I have on here is the Kosaki backup. This is the one that changes into their early play that starts compressing them at level 2. They're always going to have it if you're playing against Key because this is the card that changes and it's their whole game plan. So they're going to have it all the time. So it's an important card to remember that they just have a 3k backup whenever they need it. Bomb and Clear, there's really only this one. There's this really crappy Haru. It gets the power until the end of their next turn. So I guess it'll sit at 11k. If your opponent has a small EP. Yeah, that's it. Common builds, we got the key build, which is going to be this Marika F Gate at level 1, and then the Kosaki early play. That's that one that changes from the 2-1 backup, which on attack removes 2 cards from their deck as well as heals them. So pluses them 2, thins their deck, makes sure that their next deck are super compressed, and it's going to run 2 plussing triggers. So, you know, they're going to keep up hand better than other old decks. The other one is Sweets. We already talked about the Haru level 1 combo, the anti-event off bar. There's also this blue Stock Soul that combos with this early play Kosaki that can change from this 2-1 and only removes 1 card from their deck. But it also gives 4,000 power on their board, so the Sweets deck will tank up more at level 2 power-wise, whereas the other key deck will sort of thin cards from their deck to elongate the game. Final review. So no, they do not have a Ricky. You can definitely level up Nisekoi. It's like the quintessential old set that just doesn't have these profiles. They aren't run, so don't have to really worry about it. You're more worried about them going off with their Promise Pendant stuff. They get a lot of value off that. The chitoge anti-change counter is the most popular one, despite it being so expensive because it's also a sack counter. So that's their main way they're going to try to deal with your early plays. Most popular build, it's pretty much a tie. Sweets is stronger currently because of its high deck manipulation, but Gate Bar Key still sees play. Most valuable card, definitely Promise Pendant, whatever version they decide to run. Most popular ones are like the blue one and the red one. Sometimes you see the yellow one, but not always. That's usually only an Eris, which is a fringe 2-soul deck. Set strong at shoving all of these strong events into its memory, because they all go to memory on play, and then compresses at level 2, so it can kind of have a really strong compression game when they start to go towards their top end. And then Sweets is also really good at deck manipulation, and obviously it also turns off events. So depending on the matchup, that can be either useless or extremely powerful. The set is weak at, like most old decks, holding board and getting reverses because it has underpowered card profiles. You know, you're probably not going to see the set very much. Its popularity is very low because of that, despite, you know, probably the Sweets deck being the play these days, despite having a smaller card pool. It's still not a popular set that you'd see due to its underpowered card profiles in both Sweets and Key. And that's basically Nisekoi. If you like this video, drop a like or a comment. Let us know how we did. That really helps us out. We'll be releasing more of these rush rundowns on Mondays and Wednesdays, with our usual deck techs coming on Friday as usual. Along with all these links we drop at the ends of all our videos, we'll also link some sample decks for this set in the description, so you can get a more in-depth example of what you'd see if you ran into this deck at a shop challenge or a regional. And with that, I think we're done here. Pittsburgh White Schwartz signing off. We'll see you all in the next one.